I think I have to hit you lot with what's now known in the industry as a hook due to the rise of TikTok and decrease in attention spans. Anabolic steroids, the ugly truth, the dangers of... What's going on in the social media sphere, eh? Back in my day, I say my day, 10 years ago, I used to be able to go to London, do a little London vlog, and it'll get loads of views. Used to get churned out on the algorithm. Now, can't do that. It's got to be detrimental to everyone's lives. Today I'm going to talk a little bit about anabolic steroids, and I'm not going to sit here and frame then deframe anabolics like the current mainstream media are doing to Russell Brand. Huh? Can you see it now? You got your blinkers on, yeah? And I wouldn't even say steroids are inherently bad, the same way XL bullies aren't inherently bad, but both, if in the wrong hands, could potentially be bad. You know, anabolics served me quite well from a business standpoint and also a physique development standpoint, and now I'm in a position whereby I can talk about my experience on them and also my experience coming off from completely cold turkey. So today marks 12 months completely off anabolics. So if you are watching this through your phone, TV or laptop, you are more than welcome to give me a round of applause. I know a few of you are doing it as well, so I really appreciate it. So yeah, when I say 12 months completely off, I don't mean I'm now on some sort of low TRT dose. When I say I'm off completely. So we're going to talk a little bit about how I felt during that period of coming completely off without any PCT, which stands for post-cycle therapy. And I suppose we just start with a little bit of a background, because this may or may not get churned out on the YouTube algorithm. Hopefully it does, and we can attract a few more subscribers and they can listen to me talk about it. But I started using, I sound like a nitty fam. He's saying, you got the food. Great series of Top Boy this season, wasn't it? You forget how good Kano is an actor. I listen to Kano on my headphones and then I forget how much of a good actor he is. I watch him on telly and then I forget how much of a good rapper he is. What a guy. So, yeah, a little bit of background. I started taking anabolics, sounds a little less harsh than using. Started to take anabolics when I was around about 19, 20. I was always very well aware of them. Like the gym that I trained at was a bit of an underground gym, big up West Wickham Pump Room, and there was always like murmurs and like, is he using or... And I was like, I was introduced to the idea of anabolics quite early, and as I gained more knowledge, I always said to myself, I'd only use them if I started to compete. So I had the idea of then competing as a junior, placed third in my very first junior bodybuilding show, and I fell in love with it. I think with bodybuilding, when you do your first show, you either fall in love with it or you absolutely hate it, and I fell completely in love with it. The process more than anything, I think, than the actual kind of end product of stepping on stage, because a lot can change on a show day, as I'm sure many bodybuilding competitors watching this will know, and it can really kind of chew you up and spit you out. But the process more than anything I loved completely, and the amount of mental and physical resilience that my years of competing has now given me in business and in future life is, I mean, it's untouchable, mate. You can't put a price on it. So I fell in love with the process completely. And yeah, I suppose my steroid journey began at that point, 1920, and then not 1920 as in like the year 1920. I may look, well, I suppose I reversed a few years since coming off, but I mean 19/20 years old. But yeah, taking anabolics from that point, competed about 5 or 6, maybe 7 times, won a couple of shows, placed quite poorly in a couple of shows. I'd say like avid followers of the channel would stamp a firm approval of like being a decently average bodybuilder, maybe a little bit better than average. I think my physique started to really take an uptick when I trained with the likes of Josh and Joe, and really took my physique to that next level during that off season. And then I decided to hang my bodybuilding trunks up in 2021, and I wanted to go out with a bang. You know, Callum Raystrick, arguably one of the best prep coaches or coaches in maybe the world at the moment, we could say. I was lucky enough to be under his guidance, and I sort of said to him, look, like we need to do a bit of redemption here, hence why the series was called the Redemption Series. And we won the show, FitX, and like I could finish on a high. It was fantastic. But during that prep, so at the very start of it is when I separated from my long-term partner. Again, viewers of the channel will remember her, and I get asked a lot on podcasts how much of an influence was anabolics and bodybuilding on your decision, or on that decision for the relationship. And it's always a really tricky one, because now Now I'm off anabolics completely and have been for 12 months. I can definitely look back at my old life and see what sort of person I was. I'm very, very different to the person that I'm now. I would say, looking at myself objectively now, I'm a lot calmer. I'm a lot more cool, collected. I'm not as short-tempered. I'm not as like on edge and constantly kind of wanting to try and achieve this like superior label, or like I feel like I'm a massively different person compared to when I was on. So it's really hard to sit here and say, yeah, anabolic steroids caused me to end my relationship. I don't think that is fair on, not that it's not fair on anabolics, like I've got feelings towards anabolics, but I don't think it's realistic enough of a statement to say. But it definitely did sway some decisions. I think being on certain compounds back when I was competing, like Trenbolone, was just, I mean, that drug now, if someone came through the door now and said, here's 100 grand, take some Tren, I'd have to politely decline, because that stuff was, for me, a disaster. And I think a lot of people that have used that drug as well will agree how much of an impact that can have. I mean, you turn into just complete cold ice, man. Like when I was on Tren during my preps, I had like no empathy for anyone. It was just diesel. It was just me, my goal, which, like, from a business standpoint, I suppose you could say is a bit of a benefit, because you're just relentless. You know, you wake up at 5 a.m, you do your cardio, and you're on the laptop still at 7 p.m. And what we built with the members site, managing to get around about 4,000 paying customers onto a members site due to the videography work that we were doing with Gigi and just building this business, I don't think I'd have been able to do that or have that same kind of ferocity to do that now. Maybe I do in a different kind of business, but back then it was, like I said, it was relentless. So there were certainly many compounds whilst I was competing that would have an impact, and to the point whereby when you start noticing that, you know, when Callum was like, we're going to look to put in Tren now, and I'm like, you almost get a bit of anxiety of like, oh God, I'm going to be on this stuff that I know turns me into like it's just like a narcissistic, arrogant, egotistical arsehole, mate. Like, and this is the thing with anabolic steroids. Some people take it and they're absolutely sweet. And then some people taking it, it just turns into a complete monster. And that stuff for me really started to turn me completely. So, I mean, my time on, in terms of health, I've made a few notes here, but I like going off the cuff, you know, off the cuff. Got to bring us back, boys. But in terms of my health, physical, when I was on, I was never really like a high dose kind of guy. It was like a kind of ongoing joke between me, Josh, Joe, Cal. My lipids were always really good, even in like a height of a blast. For those that are watching, like, what's a blast? A blast is essentially a period of time whereby your testosterone is in a super physiological range. So here's your normal, you're in this range. A cruise would be dipping into and mimicking your natural testosterone level. So what we used to do was called blasting and cruising. So even in my blast phases, we get lipid work done, and it would come back quite good for the position that I'm currently in. So I never took my doses up really high. Even on that prep, on the show that I won, I was given like the decision. I think was a little bit behind on condition, and Callum was like, we've got an option here. Do you want to go and do 90 minutes on the Stairmaster every day, or take DMP? And I was like, you know what? I don't know if I want it that much. So let me go down the hard route. I'm quite happy to go and do 90 minutes on a Stairmaster. It's grueling, it's taxing, it's horrible. But like I said, the resilience that you gain from that is, you can't beat it. You know, in my mind, I just looked at it as a football match. 90 minutes, football match on the stairs. So be it. I can go home and crack on and do my regular day. So even when given the opportunity to take certain compounds or push higher doses, I've always been a bit like, I don't know if I really want it enough for it to be that much of a detriment to my health. So I'm quite happy with what I'm getting out from this dose. So my health was never too bad. My psychological health, I mean, there's videos of me being like really fractured, isn't there? But I'd say that's due to other substance use from the likes of IB than anything. So I don't know if anabolics really affected my mental health too much to the point whereby it was ever a concern. But like I said, it does take a toll on you. Certain compounds do take a toll on you. They make I think it blurs decision making a little bit. Maybe you could go as far as say that. And I think, you know, having spoken to the likes of Dr. Dean and very new data coming out about long-term anabolic steroid use and how it's almost mimicking that of the recreational drugs like your ecstasy, because anabolic steroids are kind of giving you and emitting this really, really high that when you inevitably come off, you're getting this horrendous crash, and that can cause all sorts of issues. So I would say, objectively looking at the time of me being on anabolics, my physical and psychological health was okay. It was so. I would never look back and say like I was in the absolute rock bottom. Which brings me on to when I came off. So I stopped competing in 2021, and then I came off last year in 2022. I hung on to it a little bit. I should have probably come off a little bit earlier. But what I did was I tied in myself coming off anabolics with a totally different change in almost like career and content and like just general stuff that I was posting. It was a big change. So much so that like engagement was hit. You know, my YouTube videos weren't getting the same sort of response they were. I lost a lot of subscribers. I went from kind of hardcore bodybuilding to high rocks training and running. It affected my online coaching business because clients were like, what are you now? Are you a physique development coach? Are you a performance coach? And I would say that affected me more mentally than the anabolics. You know, the fact that my business was like slowly losing a grip here. But then in the plus side to it, I was off anabolics and I was feeling better and better in myself. So I kind of got my head down, got the high rocks done, which was a fantastic experience and one that I'm definitely going to do again next year post photo shoot once I'm in good nick. But I think it was very unstable times for me, and that the impact and stress of coming off anabolics for being on so long and my business being affected really hit me hard. Like I remember December into January last year and this year was the most definitely the lowest I've been in probably, I don't know if I'd say all of my life, but it was definitely very tough. Invested a lot of money into this new business called MetFlow. Like I don't really care talking about figures and that. I invested about 10k into that and managed to basically break even with that. And during that time, you know, hiring a marketing company, it was very new territory for me. And every day was like, this is actually tough. Like I'm in the trenches here. Sorry to use a stereotypical bodybuilding word that we all use. In the trenches. I was like in the trenches here, and I was struggling big time. And then I think also what happened potentially with the stress of coming off, I remember getting shingles, like 29-year-old bloke getting shingles during New Year's. Couldn't go out to my best mate's birthday party. I was in bed. And then this issue with my stomach as well. And I'm starting to now think, looking back, is the stress of coming off anabolics completely cold turkey with no post-cycle therapy to do with these potential issues? Who knows? But I would say like my mental health and physical health just dipped and it got to a really low point. And then like December, January is really tough. We released MetFlow. It did well in the grand scheme of things, not as well as I expected to do so, or not as well as I expected it to do from the marketing standpoint, but that's what marketing teams do, don't they? They sort of blow smoke up your own and say, you're going to get these amount of people, I can guarantee it. And you sort of get happy. And then on the day it don't happen, you think, oh, I'm really pissed off that this hasn't happened. But yeah, we came out of it. And I would say, yeah, December, January for me, definitely the hardest times. And then I actually got my blood work done in, I think it was Feb, maybe end of Jan, Feb. And they came back. And that for me was like a big turning point. I was like, hold on a minute. I've done no post-cycle therapy. I've been off for about 4 months now, 3 or 4 months. FSH, LH, testosterone, estrogen, all in range. It was the first time in about 10 years I'd logged on to MediChecks and saw all greens. I was like, this is dope, mate. Like, I've done it. I've come out the other end. I'm really, like, I'm positive. I'm in a situation now whereby my health is back. I want to go into a physique development block. I had Ibiza. So I lived out in Ibiza for a month this year, which was like one of the best experiences of my life. Like, I tell you what, anyone watching this video, yeah, if you've got the opportunity to go and live in another country just for even like 3 or 4 weeks, mate, do it. That like opened a whole new realm for me and like a whole new appreciation for life in general. And I think the older I get, the more I'm a bit like, I don't know if I'm supposed to be here. I think my true calling's like maybe not in England, but we're a little bit, you know, I don't know what we're doing at this current stage. I think a lot of people that live in England at the moment, it's all a bit doom and gloom. So we'll see. But yeah, I went and lived over there, and I've started to prep for Ibiza. As you know, Ibiza prep, one of the most prestigious preps. I think it was Mr. Joey Delaney that said Ibiza is the world stage. And Joey, you are not wrong, my friend. So went into a physique development block, found my feet again, found my love for training again. Like so training without having to compete just reignited that love for like lifting again. And that's been continued into this current block now. Like without doubt, this current training block that I'm in, I've been 8 weeks into a gaining phase. We've got some really impressive DEXA scan results coming out soon. The video will be after this one, I think. But like in terms of training enjoyment and where I'm at currently with both my mental and physical health, I feel like I've proper come out the other end and really enjoying, I suppose, like the process again, almost like recreating my business somewhat, attracting a wider audience, creating different style of content, you know, really kind of ticking that, I would say, lifestyle box, like TM Cycles being lifestyle, and coaching my clients. And we've got the highest number of coaching clients that we've had ever, which is, for me, I looked at my numbers, I was like, wow, that's mad. I'm yet to hit, sorry. Excuse me, folks, I seem to have swallowed a hair. So yeah, I feel like we're on the up. You've sort of seen me like this, and then like this, and then like this, and then I feel like we're sort of out the other end at this current stage. So that was just a little insight. How are we? Like 16 minutes. I wanted to do under 18, so we've done well. We've done well, folks. Well done. But I just wanted to give a little bit of background as to like me taking anabolics, my time on it, my experience on it. I'm never going to sit here and say steroids are bad or don't take steroids and things like that, because I think it's very important for the individual to experience certain things themselves and not become too swayed. I'm going to remain impartial on a lot of things. I think it's probably the best thing to do. You know, like I said, it helped me massively with my business, helped me take my physique to the next level. I'm not going to sit here and say like steroids are inherently bad, but just be cautious with them, because I think the new research and the new data that's coming out, my personal experience on them, it can skew reality at times. It can cause this to kind of go off the rails a little bit. But like I said, everyone's different and you may respond differently. And then my decision to come off anabolics completely cold turkey with no PCT was just one of personal preference. You know, it was like, can I restore my natural HPTA without taking other drugs? I.e., can I get into a position whereby my levels are back to normal without the assistance of other drugs? If I can, fantastic, happy days. If I can't, then I would have then leveraged with post-cycle therapy. But thankfully, I would consider myself one of the lucky ones and managed to cycle off anabolics. It was tough, don't get me wrong. You know, would it have been as tough with PCT? Who knows? I would never be able to say. Maybe if I went back on again, we could do a little experiment and go on PCT. But I have no intention to go anywhere near anabolics for a long time, and I feel very kind of at peace with myself at the moment. So there you go, ladies and gents. Thank you very much for listening to this video. If anyone has any questions when it comes down to anabolics or training or coaching inquiries, you know where to get at me. Link is in the bio, and the comment section are always open to all. So there you go. Thank you very much for watching this video. We're just past the 80-minute mark. My OCD is going crazy right now. So I'll speak to you very soon, and I'll catch you in the next video. Do you like my new little setup as well? I've got these RGB lights, mate. I can do. Oh my god! I nearly thought I didn't press record on that. Got these new RGB lights. What do you want? Red? Amsterdam. I'm going to Amsterdam for my birthday, for my 30th. Red light district. I'm not going there. I'm not going nowhere near that. No. We've got what's this? We could turn that one. RGB newer, they're called. Bit of branding, orange and purple. Right, it's enough talking for me. See you later. I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you, good night. Much love.